What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Mike Tyson and Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. Okay. Mike Tyson has a classy response to Deontay Wilder, claiming that he would KO him in his prime, and the former WBC champ Wilder previously bragged about the idea that he could have KO'd a younger Iron Mike. We know that. We've counterpunched that. He says, me versus Mike Tyson in 86, I'd kick the hell out of that guy. He told TMZ back in 2018. Listen, I've got to keep it real. I know people's always go back to the old school or look at the new school, and there's no school where I'm not number one on earth. Of course, that's backstory if you guys haven't seen the video that I made about that. Speaking to BT Sports as a part of round 12, Fury's Resurrection, Tyson responded by saying that he was unsure if the Bronze Bomber would have beaten him. But the 54-year-old boxing legend admired Wilder's tenacity over the claim that he made 2 years ago. He said this, I love the fact that he thinks the way, because that's what I would have said as well. Mike Tyson was as humble as they could come when asked what he thought of Wilder saying he would beat him, okay? And this is what he said verbatim.
Said that he would have beaten you in a fight.
Hey, I don't know. I love the fact that he thinks that way, because that's what I would say as well. And he's supposed to think that way. He's the heavyweight champ of the world. And that's something very special. And I hope he never forgets that.
Are these guys on a par with you, Lennox and Evander, and the guys from your era?
Hey, listen, regardless if they are or they're not, they're champions in their right, and they deserve the respect of a champion.
And those are the words, the classy words of Iron Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson's right, you know. All BS aside, we'll never know. I mean, we'll never know if Deontay Wilder could beat an 86 Mike Tyson unless Doc Brown invented the time machine and Deontay Wilder got in that time machine with Marty McFly and went back to 1986 and offered a fight with that particular Mike Tyson. That's the only way that we will know that, okay? But until Doc Brown makes that time machine, or until he comes around with the time machine, that won't happen, so we won't know. But most importantly, the factor here is that Mike Tyson, you know, said that he would have said the same thing. He said, I would have said that same thing if I was his age, you know, and he's supposed to say that because he's supposed to feel that he's the baddest man on the planet. Remember who was the baddest man on the planet, part one? Mike Tyson. Deontay Wilder adopted that slogan, the baddest man on the planet, okay? So he would be part two. Okay, because there was already a baddest man on the planet, but now he thinks he's the current one or whatever. Okay, so, you know, like Mike Tyson, you know, humble as he was, he said, hey, he's supposed to think that. He's a champion, and that's something very special. So he's giving props to Deontay Wilder for, you know, even Wilder being, you know, with 5 years, 10 title defenses, you know, that's a lot of people can't say that, being a champion, and that's 100% true, you know. He's knocked out a lot of guys. Wilder's knocked out a lot of, he's made a lot of viral videos from knocking guys out. The Dominic Brazil fight, the Ortiz fight. These were viral videos that went viral, knocking them guys out. He's hit guys that made them walk, made them do a mummy dance on their back. Okay? So what Mike Tyson was saying was very inspirational. You know, and you got to give props to Mike, because this is a guy that's saying, hey, I would beat this guy, Mike Tyson, you know, in his prime. You know, maybe he was saying it for notoriety or recognition or whatever the reason he was saying it, but look how Mike responded to it. You know, it was like, that's fine. He's supposed to do that. He's supposed to think that. That's special. You know what I mean? Regardless of what era he's in, the era he's in is right now, and that's what's important. You know, so it's awesome for Mike Tyson to respond that way, you know, but he did say, I don't know whether or not I'd beat him. He said, I'd love the fact that he thinks that, you know, because you're supposed to think that way of yourself. You know, you need to have certain type of confidence, you know, but there is a such thing as cockiness. right? Because those type of things, will go to your head, So the question is for a lot of people, is that going to Deontay Wilder's head? And in 2018, if he thought he could whoop a Mike Tyson, what gave him that idea? Knocking other people out. That's what gave him that idea, So, it's one of those things where, Mike is just being Mike, and you understand that Mike has been through different levels and different stages in his life, and it shows that the man has grew mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and a lot of other ways. Because if you probably would have said that shit in 1996 or 2000, Mike Tyson would have been looking for Deontay Wilder to rip his head off. That's my opinion. I think that's what would have happened. He would have said something else towards Deontay Wilder. Well, where's he at? Fake ass basketball player? Where the fuck? He'd go off. You'd be ready for him. But it just shows you, that Mike Tyson, has actually grew as a person. And it's definitely a great thing to see him respond the way he responded, towards, Deontay Wilder, the current, new, cocky, former guy that's, in his prime right now. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Mike Tyson's classy response to Deontay Wilder claiming that he would KO him in his prime. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.